Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to today's BGL monthly webinar. I'm your host, Jeevan Toki. This is the webinar for April 2026. So, like most BGL webinars, a bit of housekeeping. Yes, today's session is being recorded. You will be sent a link post-webinar to the recording so you can share that or rewatch it. If you'd like to see any of our previous webinars, if you go to YouTube, search for BGL, you'll find all our previous webinars on any topic uploaded and available there. So it's great, I guess, in terms of that CPD. A copy of today's slides will be sent to everyone as well. And please, if any questions you do have, enter them there into the Q&A panel, and our team are happy to answer those questions and join. Actually, I'll skip over that one. Today we'll be covering a whole bunch of things. So I'm joined by a couple of our product managers and product specialists. So welcome Justin and welcome Andy. So today, first of all, we're just going to be going through, since the last webinar, what's actually changed in SimpleFund 360, what's changed in CAS 360, and a bit of an update on our new product, Firm Verify. So as I said, any questions you do have, enter it there into the Q&A panel. So first of all, I'll pass over to Justin, who's going to give an update on SimpleFund 360 and Simple Invest 360. So over to you, Justin.
Thank you, Jeevan. Hopefully everyone can hear me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. So once again, as Jeevan mentioned, my name is Justin. Just to introduce myself, I'm one of the product managers in the SimpleFund 360 team. Been with BGL for more than 16 years and just currently leading one of the teams in the SimpleFund 360 team here. So as Jeevan was mentioning, what I'll do is I'll be covering changes that were made in the SimpleFund 360 software. And so the first topic that we'll be covering for today would be what we call the period compliance screen. So some of you might probably be a bit more familiar with the term create entries. So it's essentially the same screen. So what we've done is we've obviously done a UI uplift or user interface uplift on this particular screen. And in addition to that, we've also added a couple more features and changes in there. So what I'll do is I'll just go through the slides and then I'll demonstrate in the software what are the changes and how you could utilize them. So the first one is to basically provide what we call a checklist cards, and it's just to essentially go through a couple of areas to make sure that you finalize those areas first before you even go through the create entries process. The one thing that we've addressed in terms of some of the pain points that we've got from clients is when you create entries now, it runs what we call a tax return validation checks at the same time. So thereby eliminating the process of you needing to do the validation separately. And last but not least, with that validation checks that we display, clicking on it will actually bring you to the screen itself to address those errors. So what I'll do now is I'll just close down the slides and I'll go into the software itself. I'm going to this particular fund, and this is under what we call the period end on the left-hand menu over here. And there is this option over here called period compliance. So clicking on this, if this is the first time that you're coming to the screen, there is actually a quick guide or a quick video just to demonstrate how you could utilize this screen. I'm just going to click show me later in that sense. So this is where I was mentioning over here, you would have, let me minimize that. So you would have those cards that I was referring to. So obviously there's a whole UI uplift in here. But what we've done is based on our data analytics, we believe these are at this point in time, the three most common areas that clients having to reverse entries and readdress all of these sections. So transaction screen, corporate actions, and distribution tax automation. So in this case, we have transaction screen where you have three unmatched transactions. What you can do is you can click on resolve issue. That will bring you to this particular screen where you can see these are the transactions that are currently unmatched. To make it a bit simple, this is automatically, I guess, predefined or basically based on confidence. We can see bank charges in here. So if we're happy with that, you can tick all, and then you have that option to click match and then just match as well. Now, what you can see is that if you go into your transaction screen, you would be able to see all the transactions in here that were previously unmatched. It will automatically be coded to the relevant accounts for you. Okay, so once you've done that, then if you were to go back to period compliance again, you should be able to see that the transaction screen is no longer unmatched in here. Similarly with corporate actions, if you have something to review, clicking on the corporate action screen will bring you to the corporate actions area, and it'll tell you if there's something that you need to address. So for example, this one I can just ignore because I've already processed that. Or if you forgot to process your DRPs, you can click on the process button. But just for this demonstration purposes, I'm just going to click ignore. And what I'll do is I'll click on the create entries process just to explain to you how the validation works. So what it does is it goes through a validation check. So you can see there's create entries alert. So we do checks as well to make sure that these are the areas that you have covered. So in this case, obviously I haven't paid any audit fee. So it just gives me a warning in this case that this fund, you need to pay an audit fee if you haven't done so already. With the pre-validation check, just in case if it doesn't appear in there for you, you can click on the refresh button. And what it does is it will check the tax return validation at the same time. So again, as I was mentioning earlier, this addresses some of the pain points that we've got from clients in terms of feedback, where after, I'm sure some of you might be able to relate, after you've created entries, you fixed whatever create entries alert previously, and then when you need to lodge your tax returns, you need to go through what we call a validation check again. And then from there, you might come across some other validation errors, and then you need to reverse entries, make all those necessary changes, and then recreate entries again. So the whole idea of this whole update is to basically streamline that process, provide a little bit more of a workflow so you can double check all these errors in the first place. That's where this check comes in. And then, as I mentioned, clicking on this link over here, there's a link to annual return. Clicking on that, it will basically bring you to the relevant areas, and you can highlight that section as well that you need to address. So those are the changes that we have done to basically try and help improve the way we get clients to finalize the funds and just streamline a little bit of the process in terms of making sure all validation checks are done at just one point of create. At one point of create entries. So that's in regards to the period compliance screen. Next, what I'm going to go through is in terms of registry data. So we have now supported Atomic Group. This is, I guess, one of the highly requested wishlist items that we've got from clients. So this is now currently available. Similarly, I'll just go through the slides and then maybe I'll just very quickly demonstrate in the software where you could go about to set up this registry data. So what happens with this Atomic Group is that with this integration that we have with them, you are now able to receive the statements. So the statements that I've mentioned on the slides over there, your dividend statements, your distribution statements, and your annual tax statements that comes in at the year end. Now, if they are available, they'll be sent monthly. If not, they'll be sent whenever Atomics has the statements. And upon the setup of the first time, what will happen is that you will also receive not just the balances for the last 4 quarters, you also receive the statements for the last 4 quarters as well. Just to tie in a little bit in terms of maybe from a timing perspective to make sure that you cover everything for the last 4 quarters. What I've done is I've also put in a help article in here, just to make it a bit easier so that you are aware that there is help resources if you need any assistance in terms of how to set up registry data. So what I'll do is I'll go into the Simple Fund program now. And this is under, we have review, and you can go to balance review. Now with balance review, the idea of this screen is to basically compare the data that you have in Simple Fund against the holding balances that you have in the registry data. So in this example over here, we have NST, which basically I believe is part of Atomic Group. So I'm going to click on the setup button and it'll bring you to this screen. So all you really need to do is just basically put in the HIN number and the postcode. And once that's done, you just click on the save button, and that basically is all you need to do in terms of setting up your registry data. Just something to note as well is that this is a paid subscription, so you need to basically be subscribed for the shared data pack. So if you don't already have one and you're interested in this, I would probably suggest that you contact your account managers, have that discussion, and they can basically provide you with the relevant information and cost as well into how much it is to subscribe for the shared data pack. So that's in relation to Atomic Group in terms of the registry. Next topic that I'm going to just touch on is in terms of Payday Super. So obviously this is something that's coming on 1st of July. So what I'm just going to do in this particular webinar is just to explain at a very high level, just in case some of you are not aware what Payday Super is. So what it is, what BGL is doing, and basically what sort of action points that you probably need to be aware of and probably take before 1st July comes in. So in terms of Payday Super, what it is essentially, in a nutshell, employers will need to pay your superannuation at the same time that you're getting paid your wages or your salary. So I have a table over there. You can see there's a current, or which is currently now. So at this point in time, super funds are received 28 days at the end of the quarter, so they're paid on a quarterly basis. But from 1st July 2026 onwards, super needs to be paid at the same time as payday, and you have basically that 7-day window. So it's 7 business days. So those are the due dates over here. And then you have from 1st July onwards, the due dates is just basically 7 days of payday. So part of the changes with Payday Super is this what we call SuperStream Contribution version 3.0. Some of you might heard of it, some of you might have heard of it, some of you might have not. But just to explain very high level what this consists of. So it consists of basically this new payments platform, or NPP for short, and also a new verification check, which is the MVR for member verification request check. So in terms of new payments platform, that infrastructure has already been around since February 2018. And the idea of that infrastructure is to provide what we call real-time data. Now, some of you might probably be a bit more familiar with the term PayID or maybe OSCO. So those are what we call NPP-enabled bank accounts. So with this Payday Super, it needs Super to be paid in this particular new approved method. And essentially, funds must now support NPP receipt from 1st of July 2026 onwards. In terms of member verification requests, this is essentially what the employer needs to do before making a contribution for the first time. So the employer will do a check to the fund to make sure that the member is present and is also into the right fund. The one thing that I probably need to mention as well is that this verification request that the employer sends to the super fund, it needs to be responded within a 24-hour time frame. And the idea of this MVR is to ensure payments are made to the right member and to the right fund all the time. Now, in terms of what BGL is doing to handle this particular change, as I mentioned with the MVR requests, because that's a 24-hour turnaround, so what we're doing in the software is we're building the system to make it an automation process for you. So you don't actually need to sit down and monitor the requests and action them. So we will automate the member verification request. And there are a couple of things that we do in there. First of all, we check, make sure the fund's ESA is registered. And if it is, then we do what we call a TFN matching process. Then what we'll do is we'll build what we call an MVR history. It's essentially to provide an audit trail so that you are aware which particular fund has had a verification request come in and what status has been sent, whether it's rejected or whether it's approved. And the other thing that we're going to be making changes is the ability to reject contribution messages. So if, for example, one reason or another, the contribution gets sent to the wrong fund, maybe the member has multiple funds, it gets sent to the wrong fund. So the ability to reject the contribution will be available as well. So that's some of the changes that we are doing in the near future. Now, what I've done as well is I provided some guidance. So there's an FAQ, that's a link at the bottom there. It's on our help website as well. So you can just Google Payday Super Guide. That article will come up. So have a read of that. Those are the information in there for you that you can have a read for yourself or even can provide it to your client. Just to summarize everything in terms of Payday Super, so obviously the key changes will be Payday Super from 1st July 2026. Employers need to pay Super at the same time as Payday. For NPP, you need to make sure SMSF bank accounts are NPP enabled. And from an MVR process, we have a system to check the member details. And as BGL's perspective, we will automate the responses. So there's really no action that you need to do in terms of the request side of things. However, just want to note some action points, I guess, from your side. Obviously, just to make sure that everything is ready come 1st of July 2026. ESA, just make sure that your SMSF's ESA is registered. You can register with us. That's our BGL ESA. If you do have another provider that you want to go with, you can do so. Just bear in mind that if you do that, contribution messages will not come into the Simple Fund software. So if you want to receive the SuperStream messages into our software, you need to use our ESA. NPP, just make sure the SMSF bank accounts are NPP enabled already. And from an NVR process, Just make sure that you double check your member details, make sure they're accurate and up to date. So those are basically the action points that I just want to highlight, just so that everyone's aware, so that they're ready from 1st July 2026 onwards. And that's really all from my end. Open to any questions. If you have any questions, just type into the chat box. I'm more than happy to try and answer those questions. But in the meantime, probably what I'll do is I believe I'll pass on to Andy, who will go through and take you through some of the changes that CAS 360 has done. So I'll stop sharing and over to you, Andy.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, I believe you can all see my screen now, and if you don't, just let me know. Okay, my name's Andy, and I'm one of the CAS 360 product managers, and very happy to be able to go through some of the recent new features with you today. So I've picked 3 of the new features that we've recently released. So the first one I want to go through with you is the smart emails with Ronnie. So this feature has actually been available in CAS 360 for a while now, but we have made a few updates to it recently. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to revisit it. For those who have not used smart emails before, it allows you to generate an email to send to your clients based on the information that's already being processed in CAS 360. So as you can see there, there's a Write Smart Email button in the preview email screen. And with just a click of a button, CAS 360 can read the details of the change. It can understand what documents are being prepared, who needs to sign what document, and what the overall transaction is about. It will then use this information to help you write a professional client email. The goal of this smart email function is to save you time and help you produce a clear, well-written email without having to manually type in all those information yourself. So that's what smart emails is. And one of the recent improvements that we have made is smart emails will now retain your existing email template style and formatting. So I know a lot of you would have spent a lot of time customizing your email to make sure it aligns with all your firm's branding and marketing content. So now the smart emails can retain all of those look and feel of your default email templates and only change the email body and the text in there. So when the email is generated, it will still follow the same look and feel of your existing templates. Another thing that we have done is we've also expanded the smart emails to support more changes and more processes in CAS 360. So almost all of the changes and all of the processes in CAS 360 will now have the right smart email function enabled. So if you have not used smart emails yet, it is definitely worth trying, and you can love it or hate it, and feedback's always welcome. We would like to hear from you. If there's anything that you think it's not written well or thing that you think it can be done better, we would like to hear from you. The next one that I would like to cover is one of my favorite. It's the enhancement we have made to the automated debt reminders. So previously, one of the limitations we had was the debt information we receive from ASIC do not include the actual due date of the debt. And because of that, the reminder logic had to be fairly basic and mainly based on a fixed frequency. We have now solved that by reading the due date from the ASIC invoice PDF we received, and we have stored that information in CAS 360 now. And because CAS 360 now has access to the due date, we have been able to significantly improve the automated debt reminders. You now have much greater control over when and how clients are reminded about outstanding debts. So as you can see in my screenshot here, so you are able to set reminders for debts that are upcoming, as well as debts that are already overdue. So the upcoming part is the new part. For upcoming debts, you can set multiple reminders before the due date. So you can set a maximum of 6 reminders there with your own time frame. So the sample I've got here is 10 days before deadline, 9 days before deadline, and 7 days before deadline. So you can even specify the time you want that reminder to be sent as well. So once that debt becomes overdue, Cas60 will then use the existing frequency-based logic, which is now called the overdue or unknown due date debts. For example, you can send the overdue reminders every 5 days or every 7 days going forward, or whatever frequency works best for your firm. So you also have control over who receive these reminders as well. So you can choose to send to directors only or billing contacts only, like the screenshot that I've got there, or directors and billing contacts. One of the use cases, some of our clients, they might not want to send these reminders directly to their clients. They want to have these reminders sent to themselves. Like the users might want these reminders sent to themselves so that they can act on it other ways. So to do that, that's also a way of doing this. If you don't want these reminders going directly to your clients, you can set yourself or one of your staff as the billing contact for the companies, and then choose to send the reminders to the billing contact only. So if you do this, you can achieve having the reminder sent to yourself only. So this gives you the flexibility to either communicate directly using Cas60 or manage the reminder process with your other internal firm processes. So this is a really useful enhancement, and now that the reminders can be based on the actual due date, there is a lot more value in using this feature. So I really can't think of a reason why you won't be using this. So you can use this to remind yourself or remind your clients directly. So it's always a good thing to make sure you don't miss those due dates. So definitely recommend you start using these today and just try to get the most value out of it. The last feature I want to go through with you today is the scheduled emails function. So this scheduled emails function gives you the ability to send emails exactly when you want them to be sent. Instead of preparing an email and sending it immediately, you can now schedule it for a future date and time. So this gives you more control and helps make sure emails are delivered at the most appropriate time. Across all email sending screens in Cas60, you will now see an up arrow button next to the send button. And from there, you can choose when you want the emails to be sent. So there are 3 preset times available. So those are the presets. So you can quickly choose a commonly used time. And if those preset options do not suit what you need, you can also set a custom date and time. So currently you can't change the preset times, but you are able to set your own custom date and time. So for example, when I schedule my emails, I always make sure it's like 3 minutes after. So just to make it less look like it's scheduled. So you have that flexibility. And once the email has been scheduled, the document will show as scheduled to send document status. So you can actually track all the documents that you have scheduled to send. You can also manage it from the pending outbox screen that's within the messages screen. From there, you can review all the scheduled emails and also change the scheduled date and time if needed. So this is really useful when you're preparing documents outside of business hours or when you want emails to go out at a more appropriate time. So maybe you're doing your work earlier, you are doing some future related transaction and you just want to do that now first. So you can actually prepare everything, schedule that to be sent 2 days later and move on to your other work. So rather than sending something immediately, you can prepare it when it suits you and let Cas60 send it at the right time. Okay, so that covers the 3 main new recent features that I'd like to show you today. So for now, I'll pass it back to Jeevan.
Perfect. Thank you, Andy, and thank you, Justin. So I'll just go back to taking over the share. So now next up, I'd like to talk about BGL Firm Verify. So some of you may have heard about this already. Some of you might be the first time. So how we've designed Firm Verify is to allow, I guess, accounting firms to comply with the new AML and CTF legislation that's coming into play through Austrade, and I guess guiding them through their CDD and onboarding processes. So I've recently launched this there on our website, but I'd like to take this opportunity just to show you a few things that we are doing. So this is new software that we're building, and I guess the design behind it is to provide end-to-end, I guess an end-to-end solution for your AML compliance there for your firm. So on the firm basis, it'll take you through the necessary risk assessments, get you to create all of your AML policies and procedures, and provide all the necessary documentation then and alerts. The next part of it then, have the ability to provide statuses for all of your clients and prospects that have taken place. Your your team members in terms of their training records and of course any necessary I suppose training courses will be built into the application as well. In terms of your clients, we will sync obviously to BGL existing BGL products, and we will sync to some of the ecosystem parties that you may use already. In terms of the onboarding, we're looking to integrate it with a few onboarding solutions, but obviously there'll be different flows based on the type of client that you're taking on, and whether that's obviously got multiple entities or whether it's just an individual client. As mentioned previously there, the ecosystem itself will be connected through, I guess, whether that's onboarding around, creating legal documents and creating entities or the existing BGL suite. So during I suppose towards the end of May, we are launching this via a new webinar that will go out and cover this in far more detail. If you go to BGL's website, so under Solutions Firm Verify, you'll find some more information there. You'll find all the pricing information that you need, and you have the ability there to register your details to get more information and potentially set up a demo prior to that date as well. If you need some more information around the AML changes and more information, if you go to BGL's YouTube channel, that does have the prior webinars that we ran on that. Sorry, just there and there. So we've run actually now 3 webinars there, and the next one is available there. So in terms of Firm Verify, as I said, go to the website, enter your details in if you'd like to set up a demo or more information there. So from a BGL perspective, we have announced we are running our going back too far, are running our RedCheck conference. So this is the annual conference that we run around, I think, 6 different cities now. So Brisbane, Sydney, Gold Coast, Adelaide, Perth, and Melbourne. There will be an online version at some stage there too. All the details there are available on BGL's website. So you have the ability to register there online. It has all the agenda, what's available, etc. Going through. So that's it for today. So we'll stay online for the next 5 or 10 minutes there to answer any questions you do have. Please enter them there into the Q&A panel. If you don't have any questions, you will receive obviously a copy of the slides and a link to the recording as mentioned there earlier. Justin, is there anything you want to add, I guess, around Payday Super with some of the questions that popped up there?
Yeah, maybe I could just basically just broadcast some of the common questions that were asked. I think some of the questions that were asked, basically clients wondering what do you need to do to enable the SMSF bank accounts to be NPP ready from the software? So from a software perspective, from Simple Fund 360's perspective, there's nothing you need to do. That's something that the financial institution themselves needs to be NPP ready or NPP enabled. So if you're unsure, contact the financial institution and then just get them to confirm are they ready for Payday Super. So that's basically all you really need to do from a software perspective. There's really nothing much you need to do because if you're already receiving contributions within the software, technically it should just flow through from 1st July 2026. You probably will just see a little bit more in terms of volume because obviously now is instead of being paid quarterly, you'll be paid basically whenever the member gets paid. So either weekly, fortnightly, or even monthly, depending on the employers themselves. So that's probably the one thing that I want to maybe just add, just based on some of the common questions that we'll ask today.
Yep. And for the accounting groups out there, obviously you'll have the other side in terms of your business clients that their payroll software will obviously need to be compliant as well.